the meeting to order, December 30th, sorry, 2021 at 6:02 p.m. Roll call.
McKeever. Here. Myers. Here. Me. Truca. Sharrock. Foat.
Present.
Allsept.
We have Mark McKeever, the chairman of the planning committee, and Landon Hill, zoning administrator. The public hearing has been called to consider the two subjects of matter under consideration. Proposed amendment to discontinue ordinance BCO 1151.05 and proposed amendment to Bucyrus zoning code BCO 115702. Landon, I'll let you go ahead and explain those.
Would you like to do both at the same time, or do you want to break them down individually? Okay, we'll start with number one, which is the discontinuance ordinance. The discontinuance ordinance relates to non-conforming uses. So the most notable example is typically a business that existed prior to zoning that now exists in a residential zoning district. The discontinuance ordinance states that when a use has been abandoned, it cannot be returned to a non-conforming use. And a non-conforming use is considered abandoned whenever one of the following conditions exists. It has either been voluntarily discontinued for a period of 2 years, or the non-conforming use has been replaced by a conforming use. What we're trying to accomplish with the modification to this ordinance is to allow some type of process by which a property which has fallen into discontinuance could apply for reinstatement of that discontinued non-conforming use. The property that kind of sparked this is the old CNC Hair Designs down on the corner of Sandusky and Allen or Wallace. Wallace. And they were attempting to do some interior modifications to that business to accommodate a new chiropractor's office. However, the commercial use at that location had been discontinued for a number of years, far exceeding the 2-year period that is in the ordinance. So we were kind of kicking around ideas as to how we could maybe at least have some type of avenue for a discontinued use to pursue while still maintaining some oversight and still, protecting the characteristics of the neighborhood surrounding them, et cetera. So you should have a copy of the draft legislation that was put together. It kind of, what we came up with kind of follows similar to, a zoning designation reclassification. So, it would go to planning commission. It would come here and it would go to public hearing, much like this is. The criteria that we came up with, you see that listed as item E. What we would be looking at is kind of the commercial history of the property, the specific non-conforming use that is being requested, the characteristics of the adjacent properties, the neighborhood, and the impact that this non-conforming use would have on the general welfare. So all things including, do they have enough off-street parking? What's going to happen with vehicular access, traffic flow? What's their hours of operation? Do they intend to put up additional signage? All things we need to know. Neighboring property owners would be notified by mail, and we would also put a public notice sign at the property 2 weeks ahead of time to make sure that all the neighboring property owners are given enough time to either submit their feedback or make accommodations to come to the public hearing. And then once a property would come out of discontinuance, they would be subject to our nonconformities ordinance, which kind of controls how nonconforming uses are able to be expanded or changed or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of where that came from, and that's kind of a high-level look at it. But if there's any, more questions, I'd be happy to talk further about it.
All right, do we have anyone here that is a proponent?
Used to be the co-pilot.
Any idea, proponent?
if you would, just state your name and address, please.
Sure. John Rostesh, I live at 1115 Dean Street here in Bucyrus, Ohio. And the one thing I want to say that I'm very much in favor of this legislation or proposed change to the zoning ordinance. It allows flexibility in our zoning code, which is very, very important. It's important to at least give an avenue for these businesses, these non-conforming structures, to have a chance to be put back into use, be put back into viable use in our community. And I think this is very, very important for us, especially as we're competing with neighboring communities, other communities for services, for people to come in and move to our community. Having a code, a zoning code that is flexible and that we can work with is tremendously important. So I would ask that this be approved and moved forward and get it into our legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do we have any opponents? All right.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Landon, did you have any written or in-person communications either in favor or against this?
No,
Please.
no, I did not.
Then I would like to move to send this back to Planning Committee for further study.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're opposed?
No.
Okay,
I'm
well, you
the only
said
one.
aye after I said opposed.
Well, I was slow speaking,
So-
that's the one reason why.
All right, motion carried. All right, for the second proposal,
No, I would wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Ross.
excuse me.
Landon being fancy.
I was just gonna put a map showing the proposed changes up just in case anybody. Okay, great. Are you ready for me to go?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay,
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the second thing we're looking at would be a zoning reclassification of the county properties, including the engineer's office, county garage, and fairgrounds. You can see the current zoning designation map there on the left-hand side. It's all currently zoned R3 residential. So obviously that's in conflict with the current uses and causing some issues. This kind of came up because the county is looking to tear down a building at the fairgrounds and construct a new one in its place. Again, the nonconformities portion of our zoning ordinance, there's just not a lot that allows for, you know, additional development of a non-conforming property. So in this instance, a commercial use in a residential district, it's just difficult to achieve. And I think the clearest path forward was just to take care of it on this level. The other thing was the county garage was looking to put up a new salt bin. So there was a couple different things development-wise that they're looking to do out there. What is proposed is we would pick up and it's kind of difficult to tell the difference there, but the darker, what is supposed to be a darker gray there is the general industrial district. So we would pick that up, which is west of Highland, and we would extend that east to encompass the entirety of the county garage and county engineer's office. That would fit, you know, it would fit with the current use, and it would allow for development consistent with the existing uses. And the same would go for the change that we're proposing at the fairgrounds, which would be to a special use zoning designation. That one has a little bit more detail to it because Under normal circumstances, a special use designation is placed prior to development. So a development plan would be in place and, you know, there would be something to work off of with the development. In this case, basically, we would treat it as, you know, the existing use in the, the existing uses basically would fill out the development plan. We would allow for uses within, you know, the fairgrounds purposes, administrative buildings, barns, outdoor entertainment, whatever that may be. The special use fits because it takes, its permitted uses includes outdoor entertainment, which includes amphitheaters, stadiums, racetracks, et cetera. Recreation, private parks, recreational, you know, all of these things are included in the special use designation. So I feel it fits fairly well, even though we're going to kind of retroactively put it over top of an existing development. With that, in the action by city council to redistrict land into the special use district, we can set, you know, specify conditions and safeguards. And a part of that is the setbacks, and especially in the instance of a use related to outdoor entertainment. And one of the ideas that we discussed, and this was brought up at the initial plating committee hearing, was to relax the rear or side yard setback, whichever it would be considered in this instance, of the eastern property boundary there, because the county fairgrounds extends past the municipal limit, so they own the property east of the municipal limit, which is obviously unzoned territory because it's not incorporated. So essentially what we thought we could do was waive that setback from that eastern boundary so they don't have to abide by the 75-foot setback, allow them to, you know, contiguously develop with the rest of the fairgrounds without really interrupting that. So that's kind of, there's a couple little hitches with retroactively applying a special use designation, but I think it fits perfectly with what it was designed to do, and I think we can make it work that way.
I've got a question, if I may.
Absolutely.
In reading your notes here, that you said that council could, or you're asking if council could maybe set some conditions to make it work, and you have per 118706. Can I ask you to clarify that? I think that's the wrong code. That's, that code's about handicap.
You're right, it's 118106, I'm sorry.
1181, that's what I wondered if that was.
And that was what I was quoting with this body being able to specify appropriate conditions and safeguards.
So it should be 1181.
Yeah.
1181.
You're right, 1186.
Well, I was looking it up to see what it said, and now 118106 is not on the American Legal Publishing site.
That would be under your, part 11, obviously, under it's the special use district chapter is there.
Mind if I speak?
Absolutely.
I would just like to say that I agree with Landon's stance here, especially with the fairgrounds area and the special use, because I know from my years of being in charge of the city's fireworks display, in which a lot of people don't know this, but part of the fairgrounds is actually in the county and part of it's in the city. And the part that's in the county, you know, they have nothing to stop them from doing, in a sense, anything that they want to do. Not to do anything wild or crazy.
Right.
But they were able to rebuild that new horse stable area out there for the horse track area. Last year, they didn't have to worry about going through zoning and stuff for that. So I can really see where Landon has a great point of a special use, because you're going to allow them to continue to develop within the type of fairgrounds that it is and continue that, you know, characteristic, but still allowing them to, you know, work as they do in the back half of the property just as they can on the front half of the property in that sense, so. And I only know that because every year they send my fireworks permit to the wrong fire department.
But it also, Madam President.
Yes.
It also will prevent any future problems when time prevails that we actually annex eastward, depending on how our city grows.
If that were to be the case, yeah, so even.
Then it's already.
A grandstand and a racetrack would be, you know, permitted use in that
Right.
designation.
It prevents any future problems if we do.
Mr. Myers?
A couple of questions, Mr. Hill. First off, when plating takes this up on January 6th, do you intend on being present?
Yeah, I certainly can.
So if not, could you maybe submit to the chair or to one of us just your suggestions, when you say that what council's appropriate conditions and safeguards applying? If you've got some ideas or suggestions for us to discuss, whether you're here in person to give those or whether you can submit those to us would be appreciated.
Yeah, I can plan to be here certainly, especially with the new council coming in, just to, if I need to go over it again, I can. But I think really the only condition would be that we make an exception on that eastern boundary and let them kind of develop it as a contiguous property. Everything else about the district and about the property, I think it's really gonna fit pretty well, so I don't think we really need to safeguard about anything else. Yeah, I think the characteristics of the property really lend to making this a clean reclassification.
Did you have any proponents or opponents contact your office about that?
Well, it's been such a period of time now. I got a lot of calls when we initially sent the letters out. They were concerned that these changes were going to, or were the result of proposed development. They see general industrial, they think, are they building a factory next door to my house or in my neighborhood?
Right.
They see these changes and they worry. But everyone that called and everyone that stopped in, which was a handful of people, once I explained to them the purpose of the change and why we were proposing it, and ultimately I really don't think it's going to change the characteristic of the area at all. They all had no.
So is there any more information
no
gathering
objection.
than stating an opinion?
Yes, yep.
Do we have any proponents here in the audience? Any opponents in the audience?
I don't know if I'm opposed or proponent. Dan Wireball, 1092 Martin Avenue. I guess, with what Landy's saying about giving them the okay to, you got the fairgrounds there, half's in the city, half's not in the city. Why aren't we annexing that? Why don't, here's the opportunity. Hey, you want this? Okay, we're gonna take the road. We're gonna go down to that, I can't think of the name of that road down there.
I think it's just Fairground Road is what it's
Fairground,
called.
yeah. So, and I don't know why it's never been there. That gives us the opportunity, if someone would put something on the other side of Fairground Road, that would be adjacent to us. You go over, in fact, there's an area, you probably know, right north of the fairgrounds, along Woodlawn, I believe it's not even in the city. And I don't know why that is, but, I think that's probably part of the reason why the fairgrounds have never been annexed, because then that would make that an island or whatever.
Right.
But I just see this as an opportunity to extend to the future. We do this all the time. Now we've got that situation out east of town where this place is not in the city and this is. It's been going on for years. And this just looks like another opportunity for something like that to happen. So I'm okay with most of this. I just think it's an opportunity for us to expand our limits, because that's the way you grow. You don't grow within the.
And this would.
You see
that's
that
that's
area?
good. Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
I don't know
yeah.
what that. I think there's.
It must have
one or
been just
two
a couple.
houses in
Yeah,
there.
a couple of houses must have annexed at a certain point to get services.
But
if that were to ever be the case, we would. If this were left alone, we would likely have to go through this process at that time, because a racetrack certainly isn't going to go in as the R3 zoning district, and there's no other zoning districts in that area to accommodate such a use.
Right.
So if that were to ever be the case, we would have likely had to gone through this process anyway. It would have came to fruition at that time. So yeah, doing this would, if that ever does come to fruition, we would simply just pick up that special use district that already exists,
And extend it.
and it would be permitted, yep.
Yeah, well, I just, all I'm saying is here's the opportunity to do that, but we can let it go.
I don't think he was either. I'm just making a comment. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
Can't say hard. I'll disagree with him,
I'm sorry?
so I'll disagree with him. Makes a very valid point.
Mhm.
All right, could I have a motion to refer this back to the planning committee?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Heard from 3 of the 4.
Do I need to read this?
Oh, not now.
No?
Probably should have earlier.
All right, so the next plating committee meeting will be held on January 6th, 2022, here in the council chambers at 6 PM. Could I have a motion to excuse Ms. Sherrick, Ms. Alsep, Mr. Me, and Mr. Trucca?
So moved.
Sure, I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
See, you'll miss me when I'm gone.
Yeah, I will. All right, we are adjourned at 6:24.